Jesus died so we might live. Amen. Text which is going to serve as the base of our message is from the prophet Isaiah, from our Old Testament lesson, Isaiah 35, verses 1 through 10. Dear friends in Christ, most of us have had the opportunity to see the country of Iraq as we have watched footage of war violence. The country is mostly barren desert. You get a few splashes of green by the banks of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, but Iraq is mostly dry, desolate wilderness. It hasn't always been that way. The Tigris and the Euphrates once flowed out of the Garden of Eden. Paradise probably once flourished where Iraq now sits. But Adam and Eve were driven out by their sin, and the great flood showed God's judgment and changed the landscape. Today the prophet Isaiah will take the lead as we see how God restores our ruined life or our ruined world with new life. There's trouble in our text. This wasn't how Judah's world was supposed to be. Israel was a ruinous desert, and the streets of Jerusalem were deserted. Their world was ruined because of their sin. They kept worshiping false prophets, and they weren't listening to the prophets, including Isaiah. The destruction of Jerusalem in 586 BC was violent and devastating. The Jews were banished from the land because of sinful behavior. We too have trouble in our world. Pollution and natural disasters indicate a fallen world. Blindness and deafness and birth defects affect the quality of life for many. Cancer and heart disease and chronic pain further indicate the fallen world that we all inhabit. Add to this our living for pleasure and power over the peace and forgiveness of Jesus, and we are in the middle of a mess. You see, the ruin of our world is judgment on our sin. From the time Adam and Eve thought that they knew better than God, creation has broken down. Banished from the Lord's sight, death and decay all around. But God restores a ruined world with new life. You see, God brought renewal for the people of Judah. The wilderness and the wasteland would blossom and rejoice with streams of water and new growth. They shall see the glory of the Lord. The blind will see. The ears of the deaf will be opened, and the lame will leap like a deer. These promises were fulfilled in Christ's coming. This new sign of life was a sign of God's forgiveness and presence in their world. God came to save His people when Jesus suffered the vengeance of God for all the sins, for all the people. Instead of casting them out, He would come in strength to take away their fears, and the exiles would return home by the way of holiness. The ransomed and redeemed would return. God will restore our ruined world with new life. When Jesus returns on the last day, He will make a new heaven and a new earth. A river will spring forth from the throne of the Lamb. The life-giving waters of holy baptism are turning us into new men and women, forgiven and redeemed by the blood of Jesus. There will be no more death, no more disease, no more pain in this renewed earth. This new sign of life is a sign of God's forgiveness and eternal presence in Christ. The Lord will wipe away every tear from our eyes. We will enter the heavenly Jerusalem and walk the streets of gold. and Christians from all nations will enter the city whose gates are never shut. Most of us here this morning have seen a sports movie or two in our days. What is the one thing they all have in common? The pep talk. Whether it's the Rookie, or Hoosiers, or facing the Giants, or the Mighty Ducks. The team is losing, and they're down in the dumps, and here comes the coach, or the father, or even the girlfriend, and they give some inspiring talk about courage and not giving up, and then it happens. The comeback. The determination seemingly out of nowhere, and the sweet, sweet victory. The underdogs win, and somebody is carried from the field or the basketball court. Do you ever wish that could be your life? Your world is up, then it's down. You don't want to face the next day. But wait, here comes someone. Yes, I believe it's your life pep talker. Give it to me, pep talker. And they do. And you are so inspired that you ace that test that you dreaded. You impress your co-workers with your jaw-dropping presentation. Or you throw away your walker and you start skipping down the hallway. Is it all a movie? The reality is we have a God who comes alongside us when the odds are against us. And by the power of His Word, He gives us strength and courage to keep going in life. God gave this pep talk to the Jewish exiles in our text, and it is the best kind of pep talk. Because He's not telling them what they can do, how they can win one for the giver. He's telling them what He will do for them. It's the same message we hear today. It's in our text. Be strong. Fear not. God will come and save you. The desert is restored, and the world is renewed with new life. Amen.